Jeffrey Donovan joined Law & Order Season 21 as the new lead detective Frank Cosgrove, but departed the long-running police procedural after just 2 seasons, which the Season 23 premiere finally explained. Law & Order has introduced audiences to an eclectic range of characters as they work tirelessly to solve various cases that blend both episodic and serialized TV elements to keep the drama and tension feeling fresh. Despite Donovan's absence from Law & Order Season 23, Frank still left a good enough impression to make audiences question what happened to him. In true Law & Order fashion, Frank was a well-written character who stood out among some of his peers because of his unique dialogue, interactions with his fellow detectives, and the quality performance that Donovan delivered each time he was on screen. Law & Order was positioning Donovan's Frank to be the new lead of the series as his character steadily gained more prominence with each appearance. While the details are still unclear regarding Donovan's exit, the news of which broke last November, Law & Order was able to wrap up Frank's storyline to some extent, thus providing a sense of closure if not a fully satisfactory one. Why Jeffrey Donovan left Law & Order? Jeffrey Donovan left Law & Order over creative differences shortly before Season 23. Jeffrey Donovan as Detective Frank Cosgrove in Law & Order. Donovan's Detective Frank Cosgrove's positioning as Law & Order's new lead made it even more surprising that he wasn't returning for Season 23. While it isn't exactly clear why Donovan left the show, the explanation given was the usual standard response that Jeffrey Donovan left Law & Order over creative differences. Even though the news regarding Donovan's exit from Law & Order was unfortunate, it isn't uncommon, since principal cast members frequently leave the series, and sometimes return, for various reasons. For example, star Anthony Anderson left Law & Order after Season 21. Irrespective of Donovan's departure from the series, his unique observations about many of the cases he helped solve, perspectives on matters relating to race and race relations, and his strict adherence to holding his fellow lawmen accountable for doing proper police work made him one of Law & Order's best characters. Frank's absence in Law & Order Season 23 will be noticeable. His story slack will be taken up by another character, who, despite shaping up to be a great addition, will arguably struggle to replace Frank's brief yet memorable time on Law & Order. How the Law & Order Season 23 premiere handled Donovan's departure. Law & Order introduced a new character to fill the void left by Donovan's absence. Reed Scott as Detective Vincent Riley in Law & Order. Law & Order Season 23's newest detective, Vincent Riley, Reed Scott, made his debut in the Season 23 premiere. With his introduction, it's clear that the show is already making strides to not only replace Frank, but to establish a character who can be just as popular if not more popular than Donovan's. As Cosgrove's replacement, Riley is now partnered with Frank's previous partner, Detective Jalen Shaw, Mechad Brooks. In the premiere, Riley asks Shaw about his former partner. In a brief exchange, Shaw explains that Frank Cosgrove was a good cop but was too honest, great cop, just got jammed up. Being too honest about things people aren't too honest about these days. The reasoning behind Cosgrove's departure actually makes sense, considering that one of his more notable traits was his directness and not being one to mince words about matters relating to race, race relations, and the overall socio-political climate of the nation, often in dated and troubling ways. Furthermore, with both of Cosgrove's partners being black men, Anderson's Kevin Bernard and Brooks Shaw, his interactions with his partners resulted in some interesting exchanges that further enriched their relationships while giving the show a great sense of realism concerning its characters' feelings about their jobs. Although unfortunate, Frank's absence makes sense and was even foreshadowed. How Law & Order Season 22 already set up Frank Cosgrove leaving the force. Detective Cosgrove sustained a life-altering injury that perfectly set up his departure. True to his character's stubbornness, Frank wound up sustaining a life-altering injury when he was shot by suspect Matthew Nelson in a warehouse in the Law & Order Season 22 episode, Appraisal. After waking up inside a hospital, he begins to question his life and reconsider his life as a lawman. After deliberating about what he should do next, the look on his face indicates Frank has clearly decided to leave the force on his own terms. While the show's reasoning behind Frank's departure makes sense, it doesn't explain Donovan's leave of absence. Although actors leaving shows over creative differences tends to be vague, it suggests that the talent in question took umbrage with the direction of the show, character, both, or something else entirely. Given the strong beliefs that Frank held regarding social media, the portrayal of law enforcement in today's socio-political climate, and views on race, it's possible Donovan's departure may have had something to do with not wanting to portray a character one could reasonably call ignorant. Regardless of the actual reason, Law & Order handled it with grace, thus taking some of the sting out of his sudden leave.